Welcome back to Turning Point Tonight, where together we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback. Let's check in with White House correspondent with Turning Point, Monica Page, who is joining us the last time as an unmarried woman. She's, again, not to put your information out there, but taking the leap on Saturday. So congratulations, Monica, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jobob. Very exciting. Saturday afternoon, going to be Monica Page Baldwin. So very exciting.
Awesome. Very exciting. Speaking of exciting, again, nothing going on at the White House today. The tariffs obviously didn't work. The trade war, we're just getting our butts kicked. Or, wait, actually, do you actually have any more information on that? Is that not accurate? Because that's what the New York Times and all the lib media keeps telling me.
Yeah, don't listen to what the mainstream media is telling you. This is the first country coming to the table since President Trump announced sweeping tariffs on all nations, essentially. And now this new deal it's a pretty big deal. I mean, in return, the UK is basically announcing that non-tariff barriers will be released. So that's on beef, on mechanicals, on chemicals as well, on ethanol gas. And all those non-tariff barriers will now be essentially gone. And the previous tariffs that President Trump put on all countries at 10% basically baseline is the same, but has lowered the tariffs from 25% to 10% on automobiles exported from the UK. So that's a pretty big deal. And also when it comes to steel and aluminum, all those tariffs are basically gone. So a massive deal. The UK is excited about it, saying that these jobs, especially in the auto sector, are going to be bolstered by President Trump's deal with the UK. And essentially, we are the largest economy. Everyone wants to do deals with us. They need us and they want to rely on us. And you can't really blame them. So this is just one of many countries coming to the table to want to make a deal with our country.
Totally. And I can just see the headlines now from the lib media. Yeah, but, and then he'll do another deal and they'll say, yeah, but, and then ultimately it'll work out better for the American people because that's the plan. And they'll still say, well, but I don't know, I was still upset about something. One of the other things the big lib media is really, really hitting hard, and they've done this for the last couple years, is hitting the president's wife, Melania, who the first lady, saying, oh, where is she? What's she doing? But today, interestingly enough, popped up in the news. What's the first lady got going on?
Yeah, just this morning we saw the First Lady herself. She gave a beautiful speech on the eve before the weekend of Mother's Day. She got up into the East Room and spoke to military mothers, wishing them a very happy Mother's Day and explaining the role of how important it is to be a mother. And President Trump, of course, making a star-studded appearance and giving a couple of very kind words to his wife Melania, saying she's a great mother. She did a great job raising Barron. He's a great kid. And it's all thanks to her, and of course, paying tribute to the military mothers and wives throughout the entire audience. There's a very beautiful moment because you kind of got to see a little bit of emotion, I guess, from President Trump that you don't really get to see all that often, especially because you don't really get to see Melania all too much. But every once in a while that you do see her, it's a very light moment, and it's definitely a moment that, in all seriousness, you get serious, hard-hitting stories every single day. To have like a nice moment like that, it's not all that often, but when it happens, you kind of appreciate it. So it was a beautiful moment before Mother's Day, and she looked great. Melania looked beautiful, and she's also creating a new postal stamp with Barbara Bush on it. So unfortunately, George Bush will not be in attendance, which is interesting. Maybe he's getting lunch with Michelle Obama. But we'll see. I mean, it's supposed to be another great moment honoring another beautiful woman in history.
Yeah, I can't. That's the biggest thing that irritates me the most when the media tries to drive wedges where there aren't any and just makes up these
Yeah.
stories, and it's wild. But good to see the first lady and the president doing a fun activity together. And Monica, hey, have a great weekend, and then subsequent next week, enjoy the wedding and the honeymoon. We will see you when you come back.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. If you were thinking of flying anywhere this week, you better have your real ID, because the real ID is necessary to stop another 9/11. If you don't remember, that's why we instituted the whole real ID thing for an admittedly awful attack, obviously, that happened over 20 years ago, a very, very long time ago. But now, finally, it's getting implemented, which is interesting in its own right, because administration after administration pushed it off again and again and again. You're all aware of this. The Real ID has been delayed for like 25 years at this point. But finally, the Trump administration was like, yeah, if we're going to do this, let's do it. Well, that went into effect yesterday. If you don't have your Real ID, you can't fly. And there's some really interesting statistics about which states and which people have the Real ID, whether or not you agree if it's a good thing. Let's bring our panel back, Titus and Hayley. Guys, so this I thought was fascinating, and I'm curious about your thoughts about this. According to, I believe this is NBC, the various states that have their citizens implemented in this program, there's a really interesting trend. The lowest state is New Jersey, where just 17% of people have the actual Real ID. In other words, 1 in 5 people in New Jersey are able to fly on a plane, which is crazy to me. Let's see, Pennsylvania, Washington, Maine, New York, California, all are about half or lower, okay? If you notice anything, these are relatively blue-ish governed states. On the other side of it, states that have a ton of compliance are Florida, Georgia, Nebraska, South Dakota, Wyoming, Texas, Mississippi, Utah. Notice a trend, a lot of red states going on there. Now, outside of the fact of whether or not you think this is a good idea or a bad idea, what it appears to me, and I'd love to get your thoughts, is that, well, the red states that are governed better and more efficiently were able to implement a process to get this all done, while the blue states are just like, we don't really know what's going on. You might need it, you might not. I don't really know. Titus, I don't know. Is that a what do you think of my opinion on that? I'm curious.
I think I kind of agree, because I feel like they just prioritize making sure that we can allow 5-year-olds to chop off their genitals. That's like their main focus. So I don't think they really wanted to. They weren't thinking about that. It's never going to get implemented. It's been 25 years. It wasn't a primary focus, and they weren't ready when the time came.
Yeah, not to belittle that horrible policies that libs are putting in their states, but at the same time, yeah, if your focus is on transitioning minors into a thing that they cannot be, then yeah, you might fall behind on some of the logistical elements of it. Hayley, not necessarily talking about whether or not this is a good idea, because I know a lot of people have their thoughts on whether or not the United States government should have more information on their citizens. I tend to think not. I don't know. Is this kind of an indicator of how red states are run versus blue states?
Absolutely. So I've had 3 Real IDs since 2017. So for the people complaining that it's hard to get and all this stuff, you had a long, long time to do it. So my first Real ID that I got was in New York State. It took me about 6 hours sitting at the DMV. So it was a total pain in the butt, I will say, but still easy to get. So I'm not using this as an excuse for people who haven't gotten it. It's possible. It's just annoying. But then I moved to Tennessee. I made an appointment, was in and out within 15 minutes. Then I recently moved to Florida. A few weeks ago, I got my 3rd Real ID. I was in and out in 30 minutes. So I think that speaks for itself.
Hayley, what I'm hearing is that going to the DMV, especially in a blue state, is disastrous and a problem. This is the first time I'm hearing about that. I've never been aware of the DMV taking a long time and being super difficult and a pain in the butt. This is news to me.
I will go as far as to say that going to the DMV in a red state actually was a pretty peaceful experience.
Hey, yeah. I mean, Ed, this is my point. I'm wondering, like, hey, did the red states who are effectively and efficiently run set up a system that actually worked, even if the thing is kind of, we don't really want to do this necessarily. That's interesting. Speaking of people who don't really want other people to do something, the libs as a whole, the only thing they want is for Joe Biden to just shut up, just stop, just don't do any interviews, don't write a book, don't go on a speaking tour. But thank God he will not. The man will not stop talking. Joe Biden was on The View today, and here's a small clip, and I want to get your guys' reaction after this. Check this Joe Biden clip out from The View, the definitely sane cackling hens.
Knowing what you know now, do you think you would have beat him?
Yeah, he's still got 7 million fewer votes.
Yes.
Okay. A lot of people didn't show up. Number one. Number two, they're very close in those toss-up states. It was it wasn't a slam dunk, and look, every time I've been on the show, which I've been fortunate to be on more than once. Thanks for having me. Is that you guys don't focus on as much, and I think it's good, on polling numbers. But let me put it this way: he's had the worst 100 days any president's ever had.
Yeah, that's a fact.
First things first, he looks about 1,000 years old. Like, I don't even think he's a day under 1,000. And second, and sometimes I get heat for saying this, and I'm curious about your thoughts. Do I have to start buying Biden 2028 t-shirts? He may have to run from from the grave. Who knows? God forbid. But the more this guy talks, the more I think people go, oh yeah, maybe Trump was the better choice. Hayley, should we be promoting the former president on a speaking tour? Should I fund personally the Bidens going on a speaking circuit?
No, I actually think that he needs to retire. He needs to stay in retirement. I'm happy to see him on the beach now that he's not the president. Go stay there. Go eat your oatmeal. Go to bed early. I'm over it. I don't want to see him ever again. And I do want to point out that this is in direct opposition to what Joe Biden said yesterday in his BBC sit down, because he was asked in that interview, would you have won if you were the candidate? And he said, no, there wouldn't have been a difference whether it was me or Harris at the top of the ticket. So what happened? Who got into his ear in between that interview and this one, where now he's like the big guy on campus, like, oh yeah, I would have beaten Trump.
Point taken. Hayley would like to see President Biden on the beach, I assume in his beach attire. Titus, he went on to say in this interview that the only reason Kamala Harris lost was actually, hold on, let me see if you can guess this. I'm not sure if you watched this clip already, but can you guess why he says that Kamala lost?
Oh, probably because she was a black woman or something like that.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Who could have seen that
Shocker.
coming?
Yeah. Wow.
What are your thoughts on Biden making his return to the public eye?
I think he needs to go to sleep somewhere. It's so weird how he's like, you have to focus so hard to even hear what he's saying. Like, to try, like you can't. He's like stuttering. I'm like, bro, what? I literally was like squinting my eyes trying to focus on what he was saying. You can see how patient they are. You see one of the hosts, they're like looking at him like, yeah, like they're talking to their grandpa who's like in hospice. It's insane. Like, I don't understand how he's up there. And then you can't talk about anyone having a bad presidency based off what we all endured the last 4 years. Like, that's actually insane. I was like, we're all struggling and complaining because whoever did whatever they did. I know it wasn't you. So it's just like, it was just an embarrassing thing to witness. And the fact that people sit there and give him airtime and then act as if his word is Bible when we all know he's not even there. It's like, what are we doing? Like, this is a clown show. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it is a clown show. And again, I would love for as many people around the country to see said clown show in hopes of them going, oh, maybe I should start voting a different direction. Titus, Hayley, guys, thanks so much for joining me. Really appreciate you taking the time. We'll have you back soon.
Thanks,
Thank you so much for
Jobob.
having me.
Thank you. Coming up next here on Turning Point tonight, a great clip from Alex Clark's Culture Apothecary podcast. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this.